Firstly, I'd like to thank MCC Brussels for the invitation to speak at today's event. I'm very grateful to be here. So I'm going to offer a British perspective on the question of multiculturalism and the failures associated with it. Exceptionally relevant to have this event after my Home Secretary's speech in Washington, D.C., where she very clearly articulated the view that multiculturalism had failed. Now, of course, this is not a new view within the modern Conservative Party in the UK. Former Prime Minister David Cameron made the very same point that state multiculturalism had failed at a security conference in Munich in 2011. He made the point that a stronger national identity was needed to reduce the allures of extremist ideologies in the UK. But the point that I would really make on this front is, what has the Conservative Party done 13 years in government in terms of trying to address the failures associated with multiculturalism? And there's no doubt that we've seen these failures, for example, in the East Midlands city of Leicester last year. We had large-scale public disorder, primarily between Hindu and Muslim youths in eastern parts of the city, such as Belgrave. And I argued that this was essentially the importation of subcontinental-style communalism in England, which tells you very much that diversity in itself is not an unadulterated good by any stretch of the imagination. Now, some people may find that very puzzling that a man of Bangladeshi and Indian origin who is a practicing Muslim would make this very point. But I would make the point that in order for diversity to be a strength within a particular nation state, it needs to be bonded and tied together by shared values, a sense of common purpose, mutual obligations. And these are concepts which have become increasingly unfashionable in British political discourse. In terms of social cohesion, I would say that there is no real national integration strategy in the UK. Local councils, public bodies, they're under no official legal requirement to publish integration strategies for the areas which they are responsible for. And I think that this is a very serious problem in terms of diversity management. Also, we've seen the importation of what I consider to be a very toxic racial identity politics from the United States being aggressively imported into the UK, along with other dynamics such as this subcontinental-style communalism. There are also dynamics associated with Arab world sectarianism, even in urban parts of the UK. So I think that, in my view, perhaps compared to other multiracial democracies such as France, Germany, the Netherlands, the United States, the UK may be relatively well positioned when it comes to social cohesion, trust in public institutions across different groups. But that is not to say that there are not improvements to be made in terms of integration. And I think my good colleague here made a fantastic point that in Sweden, the principle of solidarity is being increasingly replaced by tolerance. And I think that one of the most misguided beliefs when it comes to multicultural dogma is that a diversity of cultures can healthily coexist with little to no policy interventions. I firmly disagree with this. I think that in order for diversity to be managed, there needs to be robust law and order in more diverse and deprived parts of the UK, and there needs to be a greater emphasis on commonality. The reality is, in certain parts of the UK, there are still ethnic and religious communities that live side by side with limited social and economic contact. These limited social interactions breed suspicion of the unknown and antipathy between groups. And that is not a sustainable way to run a multi-ethnic democracy such as the UK. Neither is it sustainable for the welfare state. A functioning and all-encompassing welfare state is supported by leftists who unfortunately also support multiculturalism, and with that comes support from cultural relativism. And in my view, without a common moral cultural standard, which can help to tie together demographic diversity, I would say that the very existence of the welfare state in the UK is at stake, and that should worry all social democrats, and I say that I identify with that political persuasion in the UK. Thank you.